both surprised by the way we looked. The years had changed us too.
Hello again.
Where's the music?
Welcome to another Gung Ho show. It's March 7th, 2024. Today I'm going to be speaking exclusively about Trump, who I call the Russian candidate. There's a lot I'm going to have to talk about. I want you to know again, something about me so that you believe what I'm saying. I went from Hofstra University into the Marine Corps. I volunteered. I went to Vietnam as a volunteer. In the Marine Corps, after I went through boot camp, I went to OCS, so I went from a private to a captain. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I went right to law school. And one of the things I did, as soon as I got admitted to the bar, I got admitted to the Eastern District of New York, the federal court in New York, in Brooklyn. I also got admitted to the Southern District, the court in Manhattan, and I started doing both state and federal cases as soon as I went into private practice, 1975. And I've been doing it ever since. Well, I had to retire in 2015. So I know things. I know things because I've been in the system, the criminal justice system, both the federal and the state. So when I tell you something, I'm not telling you something that's secondhand. I'm telling you things that I know because I've been involved, because I've been through this. One of the things that I know for sure, and people think maybe I'm crazy when I say this, that Trump has been mobbed up with the Russians for a long, long time. I know it goes back to the early 2000s, and I have the proof. I'm not just talking, I have the proof. I know it because I was involved in the federal courts when I realized that things were going on. All right. One of the things that I'm going to tell you about, it's crazy. In 1998, the feds, well, actually, right before that, they arrested a guy by the name of Felix Sater. In 1998, they flipped him in 1998. In other words, they made him a government informer, an FBI informer. He was working for the FBI and the Department of Justice. I have here his cooperation agreement because I was involved in a case where he was an informer on. This is his cooperation agreement. It's dated December 10, 1988. And there are signatures on here besides his. He agreed to cooperate, become an informer, and he did. And he took a plea. He took a plea to racketeering conspiracy. Right then and there, he waived indictment and took a plea. That was part of the agreement. He was facing 20 years, massive fines, massive restitution. And certain people signed off on this thing from the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District. And one of them was someone you might know, Andrew Weissman, right here. He signed off. He was the supervisor on this big, big case called USA versus Frank Copa. The government was claiming, and they were right. This is now 2000. Felix Sater helped them make this case. Because he was the main mover. He set up with the Italian mafia and with the Russian mafia a phony brokerage, and they stole $44 million. And he got caught. How did he get caught? This is crazy too. After they closed down the phony brokerage, this is Italian mafia, Russian mafia. They close it down and Felix goes off to Russia. He leaves behind in a vault, I guess it was in Brooklyn, he leaves behind the records of this scam, this phony brokerage. And he goes and he doesn't pay the rent. The landlord opens the vault and he finds all these documents and he finds weapons. He calls the police, local police. They call the FBI in and they realize, my God, this is a scam, a brokerage. It involves the mafia, both Italian and Russian. And they actually get word out to Felix Sater, who's in Russia, and said, you better come back. We've got you by the short hairs. He comes back. Now, he's a really smart guy, big time financial crook. He makes a deal. Of course, he makes a deal. He comes back and makes a deal. That's the deal. The person that knows the most about Felix Sater right now is Andrew Weissman. He's on TV all day long on MSNBC. He knows all about him. They are absolutely good friends. Another good friend is Mueller, Robert Mueller. These guys are good friends for over 2 decades. All right. Sater takes a plea, 1998. He helps them make this big case. The indictment comes down in 2000. The FBI gets in touch with me because they know I know Danny Persico Jr. We've had some dealings before. Will you surrender him? Yes, I surrender him. March 2000, Eastern District. We walk in. They give us the indictment. And it's about that thick. Make a bail app, and believe it or not, he doesn't even go in. I tell the court and the U.S. attorney that he will collateralize a bond. The bond is $1 million. They take my word for it, and he does. He walks out. We look at the indictment, and it's easy to figure out just by looking at it. All right, these people are unindicted co-conspirators, Felix Sater, Sal Lauria, and Gennady Klotzman. They're working for the government already, but the government blew it anyhow. The very day that the case came down, they had a big conference, big press conference. I think Loretta Lynch was there, the head of the FBI, the head of NYPD, and they put out a press release, and they did something that's really stupid. They say in a press release that Felix Sater, Salvatore Lauria, and Gennady Klotzman have already pled guilty. Duh, that means that they're cooperating. Anybody would read that would say these guys are cooperators. So we know who he is and what he's doing. We've got it in the indictment, and we got it from their own mouth that he's an informer, Felix Sater. All right. Case goes on for about 3 years. Everybody takes a plea, and they're giving away the courthouse. And we don't know why they're doing this. All right. Danny Persico Jr., number 3 in the indictment, facing 20 years, massive fines, massive restitution. They keep offering pleas, keep turning him down. We're on the eve of trial. I tell Danny, I'm going to make the government an offer. It's so ridiculous, but if they take it, you take this plea. You go in for a short amount of time. I make the offer right before trial. Now, if they go to trial, they got to produce Felix Sater. He's their main witness. And they got to give us all the discovery they have on him, everything he's done and everything he's doing. Right before trial, get back to me. Eric Korngold gets back to me, the Assistant United States Attorney. Joe, you got the plea. That's it. It's over. Nobody went to trial. Felix Sater never testified. And we didn't know what was going on. All right, boom, let it go. We found out recently, actually, that Felix Sater actually, right after in the early 2000s, went over to Trump Tower. There was a business there called Bayrock. He got involved in the business. He took it over. Now, remember, this guy's already pled guilty. He's got 2 felonies. The government agreed to keep his felony conviction secret. He goes over to Trump Tower. He gets involved with the Trump Organization, and he starts to launder money, Felix Sater and Trump, together. Bayrock and the Trump Organization are laundering money that's coming out of one of the places is Russia. And it's money from oligarchs. This is money they have already stolen from businesses and banks and whatever. And it's coming from Russia to here, about $1 billion. Now, would Putin allow that? Only if he's in on it. So all this money's coming in, is coming right to the Trump Tower, Bayrock, and Trump Organization, and then And then they're investing the Russians' money in real estate. That's called money laundering. However, if Trump can say that, wait a minute, I didn't know that this guy was not legit. I thought he was a legitimate guy. If he can say that, and he can, that's why he's never been caught up in this thing. There's a loophole in the law. If I come to you and I've got $500 million, and I know you're in real estate, and I say, okay, Frank, I got 500 million, I want you to invest it in your projects. As long as you don't know, as long as you could say later on, I didn't know he stole that money from, Russian businesses, Russian banks, Russian whatever. I didn't know he did that. It's home free. That's the position Trump had. Now, this went on for like over a decade. This guy is an FBI informer. He's in Trump Tower. He's right below Trump. And they're doing business for over a decade. All the time, he's working for Robert Mueller and Andrew Weissman, and he's doing this. Now, I don't know why they allowed him to do this, but it was done, and it could be proved. And a lot of people know this. The problem is these things happen on their watch. How is Mueller going to come forward and say, whoa, you're right. Yeah, we had an FBI informer in Trump's building, and he was laundering money. And on your watch, yes. How is he going to say that? He can't say that. He goes down. Andrew Weissman, same thing. It's not only them, Loretta Lynch. It's judges. It's other prosecutors. People know these things. They're afraid to say them. They're afraid of being brought down terribly. So nobody has come forward that really knows what's going on except me and a few attorneys. And I've been doing this now for how many years now? 6 years. I've been going after the government. They completely ignore me. All right, gets worse. So in 2018, I'm watching Ari Melba. And he's talking about this dirtbag, Felix Sater, in 2018. This is like, 20 years after he was flipped. And everybody's making him out to be some kind of spy, like an OSF. He's a rat. He's a bad guy. He's a crook. And he's going around and he's on a publicity tour. And Ari Melba's talking about him in May 2018. And this guy poses on the Newsweek and he calls himself the informant. And I'm watching this program and I say to my wife, whoa, I know this guy. I know that name. I go down into my basement and I pull out USA versus Persico. There it is, my file. Felix Sater, he's the guy. He's the guy. I got him on the witness list. He's the guy. In 2000, and now he is here in 2018, and nobody's asking him any questions about what he did all this time. All he says, and this is what Mueller says about him in his report, he's a real estate broker. That's all he says. How's that? He's a real estate broker. Liar. Mueller's a liar. Andrew Weissman's a liar. All right. So I'm looking at this in 2018, and I started doing online research about Felix Sater. And right away, I come up with all kinds of stories about him. I mean, he's everywhere. He's everywhere. Like this is actually Trump and Felix Sater at the Trump Soho in Manhattan in 2007. Felix Sater was working for Mueller and Andrew Weissman at the time. He hadn't been sentenced yet. He's committing crimes with Trump. Money laundering. They're taking Russian money, and investing it in a project in Manhattan, the Trump Soho. Right under everybody's nose. Nobody, all right, it's going on. All right. So now it's 2018, and I start doing this thing, and I find all this stuff about Felix Sater, and I find the writ to the Supreme Court of the United States, and I start going through it. It's online, and I realize they're talking about the Copa case that went down in 2000. They're talking about my client. They're talking about Felix Sater. They're talking about these two lawyers that are trying to expose what Felix Sater did with Trump, trying to get it out. So what do? I contact the two lawyers. The phone number is on the cover of the writ. And they are excited. And they want to meet me. I meet them, and they tell me that since 2010, one of them filed a civil RICO case against Felix Sater in the Southern District. The government came down on them. I mean, gangbusters, sealed everything, gag orders. So now it's 2018. They're still fighting the government because they want to disclose what Felix Sater did for the FBI when he was at Trump Tower. They have a client that worked for Bayrock that came to them and said, look, there's something going on here. There's something that's unlawful. And this guy, Fred Oberland, is a genius. And he investigated for a couple of years. Yes, they're money laundering, tax evasion. It's all illegal. There's Russians involved. They started to disclose that. They got decimated. The government destroyed them, and I was there when they did it. All right, so now this is ongoing. It's 2018. They tell me all of this. Not only do they tell me, they claim, they are accused, and it's on the record, in the record, I have it, of trying to get Felix Sater killed. How's that? They tell judges that these two lawyers in 2011 tried to get Felix Sater killed, and they try to do it through Danny Persico's lawyer, because they disclosed to Danny Persico's lawyer in 2011 that Felix Sater was an informer on the case. Crock of shit. And they accused these two lawyers, telling Danny Persico's lawyer that Felix Sater is a rat, hoping that Danny Persico will arrange to kill Felix Sater. They told the government that. I have it in black and white. But they messed up one thing. They claimed that Danny Persico's lawyer was Gerard Chargel. I don't know how they got that wrong. They got it wrong. Well, I think I know. I do know. Because while the litigation was pending, Fred Oberland had contacted Gerard Chargel, and he wanted him to represent him in this litigation, the government coming after him, because Chargel had a reputation of being an expert in First Amendment, and that was one of the issues. Them trying to exercise their First Amendment rights and the government trying to shut them down, which they did. All right. So they got away with this, but I came forward in 2018. I came forward, I signed an affidavit, and it was really a long affidavit, and I accused Sater and his lawyers lying to the court. And the government got my affidavit. The U.S. attorney got it. The judges got it. And I've got the proof that these Sater and his lawyers are lying to the court. Didn't make a difference. I go to court to testify in May. In Eastern District has recused itself. And now there is U.S. attorneys from the Northern District. And I go there to testify, to tell the judge that these two lawyers have been wrongfully accused of trying to get Felix Sater killed. They have my affidavits. I'm ready to take the stand. No. Judge said, you can't take the stand. In America, judge would not let me take the stand and tell the truth. How's that? That really happened. I was shocked. I had my own lawyer there, because I told him what was going on, and I showed him some documents, and he was there, and he's a really great lawyer. He went over to the U.S. attorneys, told them who he was, Maurice Surkars, I represent Mr. Giannini, he's here to testify. Judge wouldn't let me get on the stand, wouldn't look at my affidavit. I never seen such a nasty thing like this. Judge going after these two lawyers, thinking that buying this, that they are trying to get a FBI informer killed. That's part of the record. They wouldn't let me get on the stand. All right, so Maurice Urquhart was watching all of this in court. Came out with me in the hallway and said, Joe, I don't know what's going on here, but the government is going through extraordinary lengths to protect this guy, Felix Sater. He said, I've never seen anything like it. Get off the case. This is not your fight. Maurice, I can't walk away from these guys. I have to help them. Well, what they were protecting, yes, they were protecting Felix Sater, but they were protecting Trump. Because if you look at Felix Sater, you come up with Trump, because he was in the Trump Tower for over a decade. And that's what they were protecting. That while Felix Sater, even before he was sentenced, was out committing more crimes, financial crimes. And he couldn't do this. He was a convicted felon. You can't conduct business. You have to tell banks that you've never been convicted of a crime, because you're dealing with banks, you're dealing with lenders, you're dealing with investors. You actually sign, I've never been convicted of a crime. It's a lie. Felix Sater had 2 felonies. This all happened while he's working for Mueller and Andrew Weissman. So all of this happened, right, in the 2000s. And then all this money came in, and some people think that that really saved Trump, because he went through like 6 bankruptcies, but all that money came in. It saved him. Then he decides to run for election in 2015. This guy should not run for election ever. He shouldn't run to be a door catcher. Sorry, Eden. Anyhow, they should have stopped him right then and there. Someone should have said, wait a minute, you can't do this. We know that you've been taking Russian money. You've been taking it with our informer. You can't run. You can't be a president. Trump just told them, I guess, fuck off. You can't touch me. Because what I would say to the people out there now, you want to say that to them? I'll tell them this. Forget about the wiretaps in my building. Trump would say to them, I'm talking about Robert Mueller, Andrew Weissman, the FBI, Department of Justice. You put an informer in my building for over a decade, an FBI informer. You did it. And you had him do business with me. You did it on your watch. What were you thinking? That's what he would tell them. He's got them. He has the feds. So he's been left alone until just recently. But think about the way they're going about this. They waited 2 years and 8 months to indict him. They could have indicted him in a week's time. A week. Why did Merrick Garland wait 2 years and 8 months? And the indictment is devastating. Here's the indictment. Got it online. It's devastating. However, they didn't indict him for insurrection. They indicted him for obstructing justice, basically, 3 counts. Obstructing governmental functions. They could have indicted him just based on what he did with Pence. That was the indictment. Very simple. They didn't do that. They dragged their feet to the point where it's, I say, impossible to try him on the January 6th case before the election. They did that, our government. Why'd they do that? Well, could be some of them are afraid that they would be named as knowing what was going on all along with Trump. I think Trump somehow figured out that Felix Sater was a government informer. I have my reasons for that, really good reasons, because I knew, or I got to know Trump's real lawyer, Jay Goldberg. I think Jay Goldberg found out that the FBI had an informer in Trump's building. Jay Goldberg was Trump's real lawyer for over 2 decades. I have proof for that. I know Jay Goldberg. He died over a year ago, but we became good friends. Anyhow, here's another thing that's crazy. In 2018, it comes out that Mueller is going after Michael Cohen. And what he does is he files an information in the Southern District claiming that Michael Cohen lied to Congress. I got all this stuff. And the witness against him is Felix Sater. How's that? When I saw that in the papers, 2018, I said to my wife, Mueller's gone. Oh no, I said, he's gone. He's going to close up shop. He's going to leave. He's never going to touch Trump. He never would have touched Trump. She thought, well, she was upset. I was saying that. I was right. So maybe 3 or 4 months later, he decamped. He was gone. Didn't put a glove on Trump. Nothing. And the special counsel was supposed to go after Trump. All right, what did they do? How do I know? Because I read Andrew Weissman's book. Mueller calls him in, he's recruiting him, they're talking, and what does Andrew Weissman say? First conversation, we should get in touch with Felix Sater. And they do. And you think they would use Felix Sater against Trump? No. Not going to use Felix Sater against Trump. They can't. Because what he did with Trump, he did on their watch. So what do they do? Andrew Weissman, big time guy, right? He knows more about Felix Sater and Trump than anybody. They divide up the workload. Andrew Weissman goes after Manafort. Another team goes after Trump, and another team goes after the Russians. They gave Trump a pass. He got a pass. I was there when Mueller testified at Congress. He was a wreck. He really was not there to get Trump. He was there to protect everybody involved with Sater and Trump. His own ass, Andrew Weissman's ass. They gave Trump the position where he could run for president. They helped him along, and they can't do anything. These federal indictments, he's not going to be tried on them before the election. And the state cases, they'll probably disappear too. We have a really bad situation here. Trump is the most dangerous person for us and our democracy and our security. We have to stop him. And the truth is out there.